Jesus H. Christ. I'm live. Let's tilt this down. Let's tilt this back up. Man, I hate that YouTube doesn't have a way to actually check this as I get started. That's pretty annoying. I'm going to check my audio quick. Yep, that's working. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm live and I'm enjoying my coffee this morning. Just sitting back after my long evening of, I'm looking especially glowy right now. Let me push this down. After my long evening of watching the Justice League, which was very good. I am hopping on here to talk about post-production and have my coffee and just hang out and see if anyone wants to chat. I'm a big fan of the morning coffee conversation. My wife and I got up this morning and had a discussion about what we plan to do with our remodel of our home. This is all going to be different. This paneling is not going to be here, and lots of things are changing in the Flush Studios basement. And Flush Studios is probably going to move to a new location relatively soon. I say relatively soon, meaning it could be anytime. I have absolutely no idea when that would actually happen. But we're going to be changing out the basement, moving stuff around, and I will probably be moving to a new location in the near future. Post-production this week, going through everything really made me sort of realize how little I know about post-production, even though I do it for a living. I literally edit for a living. That's what I do. And yet I really have things that I'm learning and trying to figure out. And maybe that comes from the background of how I got into filmmaking and starting in animation. And my kids are banging around upstairs. They are actually playing the Oculus. I almost never splurge. I don't buy things for fun, because for fun to me is running around with my Super 8 camera, which is what I've been doing. I literally have it right here. If you saw my front photo, this is one of them. I got actually I got 3 Super 8 cameras to attempt to shoot a feature film. Yes, a feature film on Super 8. So I'm running a test roll now, and Max and I went out and filmed skateboarding, just us randomly skateboarding and doing some other fun stuff. And I used up about a half a roll very fast. It's crazy how fast you can run through Super 8 film. But I'm very excited about it because it puts me inside of a box, and I have to film this Super 8 film in a very specific way. So I'm running through the process, just making a random family home video right now. And it will actually be something that I may end up using in my Trouble Comes feature. And some of the footage may even get used in this other Super 8 movie I'm working on right now. So I'm testing out the entire workflow to see how the Super 8 would work. I did it right before I went on Rebel Without a Crew. I filmed Super 8 footage that I had got. This shadow is driving me nuts. This shadow that's on me. Can you guys still hear me if I put this like right here? Is that okay? I'm running this, doing a test, and I did a test right before I went to Rebel Without a Crew where I did a short trailer called Vinny. It was a short, like, Vinny, my ventriloquist dummy Vinny. I made a short little horror teaser trailer with him and did the whole workflow. I went from production, I did like a pre-production where I kind of figured out what I wanted to shoot for this trailer. Then I did a production where I filmed the whole roll of Super 8 to see how long it would take me, how much footage I would get out of it, and what it would come back like. And then post-production, figuring out how to edit both the film and just doing a digital edit of it. And it went really well. So I'm trying it again before I go into the feature. And it's going to cost me whatever, $60 or something like that to get it done. But it will be a great test. And a Super 8 feature is something I've always wanted to do. So I'm giving it a shot. So right now I'm still in production on that. But when I move into post-production, that's really what I want to see. Like, how much is it going to cost per roll? How much do I get out of it? And how much is ruined, or do I actually know what I'm doing? Because that can be a challenge to figure out what I'm doing just in general. So I'm working on that. right now, but that's what I do for fun. So I bought an Oculus and my kids are using it upstairs right now. I watched what is it called? Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League on the Oculus yesterday, and it was very cool. But it was 4 hours with that mask on, which was kind of obnoxious. But I really enjoyed it, so I set that up, and then I put on the Lighthouse as well, just because it's like my favorite movie right now. I wanted to see what that looked like, and then I put on There Will Be Blood because I had realized I'd watched 2, 4, 3 movies on it instead of a widescreen, so I put on There Will Be Blood to see what that looked like. I didn't watch The Lighthouse. I actually just put it on and turned it off within, like, 10 minutes, but I just wanted to see what that looked like on the Oculus. Um, Today I'm gonna see what Greywood's plot looks like on the Oculus. I'm very interested in that. This monitor, I think, is what's actually one of the brighter things. Oh, actually, and it's probably that. Sorry. I wish I could figure out how to do these YouTube lives and make them look better. That's my plan for one of the months coming up is I'll be going live every morning, probably earlier than this. I'll probably go live at like 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time and just chat about what I'm going to be working on. We'll see. I may just quit doing these videos. They're fun to do, but I don't know if they're as fruitful, and I don't know if they're going to continue to be fun for very long. So we'll see how long it lasts, but I'm still enjoying it for now, and I will still be doing videos all this week about that post production, which is something I know very, very little about. So I'm curious to see what people think of those. But here's the thing: as I was doing the post production videos this week, I had no idea what people were going to say or think about those post-production videos, and people seem to really enjoy them, especially the ones that I thought were gonna be the worst ones, and I had the least to actually talk about, but I think people liked the fact that they could hop in the chat and actually bring up some topics versus just, me saying what I've learned. They were able to give their input as well, um, which was very nice. So a lot of people hopped on and gave their opinions about the filmmaking process, especially the video, the preparing to sell your video. I had a bunch of people DM me yesterday, and one of them was talking about specifically how they have a completely different process than I do. How they immediately, the second they come up with an idea, they're thinking about who they're making this movie for and what they're selling it for, or what their plan is for bringing it to market, like what festivals they want to go to, what they are interested in, um, who they're interested in bringing it to. And that's something that for me, I haven't thought about with my 2 movies because The Good Exorcist went into production with, Robert and with Rebel Without a Crew, so I knew it was going to have a very different trajectory, and I planned for that. I was like, "Okay, well, don't hold anything sacred as you go into trying to sell the movie, go to festivals. You have no idea what you're gonna have, so be very open about that." And I was, and it made it a lot easier to be okay with the fact that the movie didn't do anything. Um, Maybe it's this light. What if I turn this light off? Is this better? Does that's better. Um, so it made it okay to, that nothing was happening with it right away. Now it sucks that I'm trying to get the movie out now, and I have people who are interested in distribution, and yet I'm struggling to get it out because of other companies getting in the way. So that sucks, but I'm hoping that that'll change soon. And as I'm working on this VHS of The Good Exorcist, again, something that in what I'm going to be talking about next week with post production, I've had the opportunity to actually rethink who is interested in the movie and what I can do with the movie and how I can actually profit to fund the next movies with The Good Exorcist. And that has been a serious challenge. But with Greywood's, not having put it out yet, I'm still thinking about this stuff. So someone coming on and saying like they always think about it in advance. That's something I need to take to heart because I can learn from that. And hopefully in the future, I will be thinking about who the audience is. I hear Raffi upstairs yelling. He may come down here, which would be fine. He's adorable. So that would be very sweet of him to come downstairs and say hello to everyone. So one of the things that I've been thinking about with post-production is, and with my art in general, my paintings as well, all of these things that I'm creating, the comics especially, because there isn't a lot of margin for profit. Is that the term? Margin? Whatever. It's going to be hard to make profit off of the comics because they cost money to make, and then they cost money to ship if I'm going to ship them, which I'm not going to ship them right away, not as single issues. I will wait till I have a few done and then maybe do like a set so that shipping is less. But thinking about how you're going to get your art to the market, and that's something that I've never done. Even with my paintings, as I'm doing them, I'm like, I don't think about who's going to want them on their wall. I just paint these ridiculous creatures that pop into my head. And my movies were the same way, where I never think about who's going to care. I just start making them because I have to get this idea out of my brain. So hearing a few people say they're thinking about who their audience is, where they want to take their movie, what the market is, means a lot to me. And it's something that I'm reflecting on as I work on Scumbag, especially right now. I'm thinking about, okay, yes, what do I want to do with it and what do I have to say? Obviously, it's important with your art that you are getting yourself out there. That's why we do it. Um, but or entertainment or whatever. Um, oh, great. Lindrick Collins is on here. Good morning and thank you. That's very cool. I will look into that. The with Scumbag and with all of these things, thinking about who wants to see it and who cares. That's really, it's just something that I don't think about naturally. That's not in my head, is just like do whatever pops into your brain and get it out there. And I'm really interested in thinking about stuff like Lindrick just messaged. I sent you an email about the website SEO side of things, which those are things that I don't necessarily think about all the time. Especially when it comes to marketing my movies, because I don't, well, one of the hard parts is we're in this mindset of self-distribution versus distribution through someone else. So as I'm in production and pre-production and, even just the early stages of thinking about what should I work on next, it's hard for me to care about who's going to see it and why they're going to see it. In fact, it becomes kind of cringe to me. Even with these videos, I have a hard time going and being like, hey, like and subscribe and enjoy this stuff, because I don't really, I mean, I want you guys to like it and I want people to enjoy my movies and I hope that there's an audience for it, but that's not why I make them. So I have to find this better balance of that and realize this about myself. And obviously that's why a lot of people find their marketing, they have a marketing department and they find their people to be a part of that. But I just don't care on my end. Smash the like button. You guys don't, you can give me a thumbs down. You can give me a thumbs up. You can comment with whatever you want. Obviously there's some algorithm happening with all of this stuff. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about next week, is what I've learned. And you're going to hear a lot of me saying, I don't know, and I don't care on next week's videos, because it is really hard for me to care. With that being said, I've spent the last week and a half messaging Daniel like 7 times a day about 7 different chunks of the day for like 20 minutes about what I'm seeing on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, what I'm seeing with products that I'm actually like sneaking into stores, what I'm seeing with people replying when I bring up the VHS. Like, I'm always thinking about what people care about and what they say. But in the end, like, I mentally can't sit and what's the word? I can't overanalyze it or I won't create my own art. I'll just be making pandery bullshit because I understand what people click on. I watch my kids watch videos on YouTube and I know it's not this video of a guy sitting in his basement. Well, actually most of them are a guy sitting in their basement, but they're playing video games or they're doing these other things in a very specific way. And I just have no interest in doing it their way, that way of like screaming and being like, oh my God, guys, come on, guys. Like, I can't even fake it because I don't care enough to fake it. I'm not built for that. I'm built for making what I want to make. And so trying to understand how I can sell it, how I can make a better website, how I could tell people to smash that like button, that's really tough for me. It was really cool hearing people would message me after they watch the videos. There's also a very funny thing about me where a lot of people hop into comments on YouTube and leave comments directly on the YouTube. And I have a lot of people direct message me. And I guess it's because a lot of you are my friends, or a lot of people are people who are I'm a very open person to communicating. I'm allowing you guys into my studio right now to sit here and watch me chat about filmmaking. I'm pretty open book. I was on a reality show being completely and utterly myself because I just don't really care about not being myself. Josh got to be Josh though. Exactly. That is exactly right. I just can't help not being me. And that means making Dogman movies that are black and white and really hard to sell. And I can't tell you how many people that was something that we figured out kind of in post, like in this middle post production reproduction thing that we did with Greywood's plot, was that we liked it in black and white and we wanted to keep the black and white going. And so, um, we actually hadn't decided it was black and white until we got into post production on the first pass. So figuring out that we wanted it black and white, I never really took the time to sit and go, are people going to want to sell it? Is distribution going to want a black and white movie? I never thought about that. I never cared. The movie just worked better black and white. I wanted it to be black and white, so I went with it. And I've had multiple distributors, probably, man, at this point, probably 10, and I'm not even being sarcastic. I think 10 distributors have said, would you be willing to change it to color? Is there a color version? And would you do that version instead of the black and white? And then instantly get rid of me when I say no, or when I say I'd be interested, but that's a lot of work and I would need to be compensated for the cost. Or when I say yes, but you realize that completely destroys the integrity of the film. They often just disconnect and will like leave. They don't want to be a part of it. It's 10 o'clock, which is the time that I said I would go live. I went live early to just start my ramble. So maybe more people will hop on and maybe I should start over from what I was talking about. Or maybe I'll just keep rambling. I'll probably just keep rambling. See, Wes Effect Entertainment. Go follow Wes Effect Entertainment on YouTube if people are listening to this later. I said, good morning, friends. Good morning. Hope everyone is having a lovely Sunday. I had a really great Saturday and got some stuff done, did my morning video. I can't believe I've made it this whole month making a morning video every morning. It's been so challenging, but so fun. And there's been this like element of getting my ass up in the morning and getting myself going. But then I watch the videos when they air at 10. And then sometimes I'll even watch them again while I'm sitting at work doing nothing else. And so Max is upstairs yelling about something. Like I say, these videos get my ass going in the morning, but rewatching them throughout the day, because I'll watch them with you guys at 10 and then I'll watch them again in the evening when people start to leave comments. I think a lot of people watch these after work and they'll start to DM me or leave comments, and I'll rewatch them because someone will say, oh man, when you said this, that made a lot of sense. And I totally forgot what I talked about. So I go back and rewatch it and see, and I've learned a thing or two. That's been interesting. If viewers wouldn't like black and white, they aren't going to like the movie anyway. Well, the distributors they disagree with that. And this is something I've learned about distributors, and I'll talk about more next week, is they care about that trailer and getting those asses in the seats. They don't care if people like the movie or not. And that is a challenge because I don't care if people like the movie or not, but I want them to at least get my artistic vision or whatever I feel is the best way to watch the movie. Like with The Good Exorcist, I think the best way to watch it is in bed on your cell phone. And that is not a joke. I truly believe the best way to watch that movie is as comfortable as you can be for you. And or on the bus. Like it's a time killer of a movie that I hope that you're sitting there and all of a sudden laugh out loud, not expecting yourself to laugh at something like that. And it looks good on a cell phone. Its cell phone screens are brighter and the movie is pretty dark because of the way we had to film it. And the fact that we didn't have a lot of lights. I had to balance the darkness and the light. But distributors don't care what the viewers want, or the way they're going to understand it. They want Greywood's plot to be a torture porn. They want it to look as nasty as it can, and in color, it just looks nastier. And they want the audience to be as comfortable as they can, which is something I've personally realized about films is I don't want to be comfortable at all. I don't like being comfortable when I watch a movie. I was literally feeling for my lav mic to see if it was still on, and then realized, oh, this isn't a morning video like normal. I don't have a lav mic. Greywood's plot is the best Detroit Lakes tourism promo I've ever seen. That is, oh, I love that. That's the oh, I wish Detroit. I for a while was tweeting at Detroit Lakes when I would do trailers and stuff for the movie, and they ran a ad in the local Detroit Lakes newspaper, like the Detroit Lakes Gazette or whatever the fuck it's called. And I thought that was so wonderful that they ran a B movie shot in Detroit Lakes, playing at, I always say Detroit, in Detroit Lakes, playing at Twin Cities Film Festival. And I thought that was really great. So when I can announce where the movie is going next, or maybe not even next. We have a couple film festivals, I think, coming up, but where the big one, when I can announce that, I hope Detroit Lakes does another, I hope they do another like or do another run about the movie playing at this big festival. That would be really fun. I've never heard a filmmaker say it's better on your phone. Do that. I actually think it is. Here's the thing. You guys are watching your movies on 4K TVs or on Oculus. I watched the Justice League on an Oculus yesterday, and then I watched The Lighthouse, like 10 minutes of The Lighthouse on the Oculus. And I don't think my movie is meant to be viewed that way. I'm going to try it out later. But I think The Good Exorcist, you see all of the crappiness, and the sound is right in your ear, like with all of that crappy audio. I think watching it on your phone in your bed is like it evens the movie out a little bit, and you can actually just watch it for the story and what it is. But I also think, when I say that, what I really mean is like, watch it however you can watch it and enjoy it the way that you want to, because it's really, really challenging to enjoy a movie that's made for $7,000 on a reality show with all of its flaws and everything. Now, Greywood's plot, I will say, see in a theater if you can, because that movie looks fantastic in a theater. It's crazy. I've seen it 3 times now in theaters, and every time I cannot believe how good it looks and sounds and is. It just works in a theater, and when you're completely like pulled in. So I'm going to try Greywood's plot on the Oculus today and see. I watch it for the crappiness. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The Good Exorcist is the kind of movie that I'm only going to be able to find a certain audience for. Which is apparently middle-aged women. I had middle-aged women at screenings at film festivals, and they love Greywood, or they love The Good Exorcist. I don't know why. I think they think it's creative. So they're like, it's like watching, it's the B movie version of watching your kid's art school project that they brought home that they got in trouble for, maybe. Like when I drew, it's the equivalent of when I drew Chucky at school for, art class. And then my teachers were like, Josh drew Chucky and this is not okay. And my mom and dad were still like, yeah, but it's a pretty good drawing of Chucky for a 9-year-old or 8-year-old. And that's what I'm like, really, or that was a really interesting outcome of that movie versus Greywood's plot. So I've really tried to hone in with these 2 movies on what I'm trying to sell. And, when people say that they're thinking about the marketing in pre-production and post-production, this is something I've had to learn the hard way. And I wish I had thought of more with both of them. And I wish I had thought more about what the sell of The Good Exorcist is. How do I put it out there? And it's something I'm doing now. Like, how do I literally show the bad so that when people get in there, they go, oh, this is better than I expected. Because of the way it was filmed and the way I had to do it. A movie can be technically perfect but have no soul. That's like 90% of movies I see when I go to the theater. I see a lot of movies where I'm just like, wow, says nothing to me. My movies are not technically perfect, and I know that, but they definitely have an audience. I don't know what just got knocked down, but that didn't sound good. I just heard a loud bang upstairs. As we're making our low budget and independent films, features or shorts or whatever, I do think we're all probably thinking about how do we improve and how do we make them better, but not necessarily technically. That's what I'm really trying to hone in with Scumbag as I'm in production now, I'm thinking about post-production and post-production more. And what is the sale of this movie? What film festivals will care? Where will people actually watch it? And that's what's made us diverge into these two separate movies. And actually, my whole business model and my whole concept of filmmaking is starting to kind of diverge on these two separate paths at the um one of them being very my friend Dan Lotz uses this term folk filmmaker a lot, and I really struggle with the idea of folk filmmaking because folk, not that I think it's a bad term, but my concept of folk music is very different than what folk filmmaking is, I think, to him. Like why folk music existed at the time that it did. Um, but I think there is an element of getting directly to the people and saying something different in filmmaking. I don't think that term is bad. I have nothing against it. I don't know if I'm a folk filmmaker. And so but I also don't know what kind of a filmmaker I'm. But anyway, this diverging path. I'm really rambly today. I'm antsy. I have a lot of energy. Yesterday, like, got my energy going, playing the Oculus and skateboarding and filming the Super 8 stuff. Like I talked about at the beginning when a lot of you weren't on here, I was talking about how I used this. I went out and I'm shooting a roll of Super 8 for this Super 8 feature I'm doing. I have one of my Super 8 cameras right here with a roll in it right now. I didn't mean to wink at you. I have something in my eye. So anyway, I'm on these two paths, and Scumbag is the epitome of that, where I am kind of partaking in this folk filmmaking thing, trying to get movies directly to the audience and posting things on YouTube and stuff like that, which is a very different model than I thought I would be on. But I'm also on this other trajectory where Daniel and I are trying to do things a little bit bigger. I don't know. That's not the right term. I mean, we have the same crew, but like the 1st of November has a more audience friendly. We know who our audience is. We've thought about it. We know what film festivals we want to go to with that short. And it's still an experiment because we have thought more about like what festivals are we submitting this to? When do we want to submit them? When will the audience be seeing it? When do we want to release it? Who are we going to go to for distribution? All of those things are things we never thought about with our other projects. So 1st of November is an experiment in that. And I really can't wait to talk more about that as we try things out. These videos are interesting because I'm essentially in this process of post-production with these videos. I know how to make them. I know what the production is. I know how to put them together. And I'm in this point where I'm like, okay, so what do I do now with them? Where do I go next? And I've had a lot of people reach out and say, if you took those morning videos and actually interspliced footage from your movies, stuff that you're talking about, stuff that you've seen, graphics, animation, things like that to kind of explain it visually, they could do really well. That would be wonderful, but I don't have the time to do that, and I am kind of not interested in it. It's not fun for me to do every freaking day. Like that would take me 5 hours every day or 4 hours every day. These videos take me an hour. Like I do this live video and I go live for about an hour because of the fact that that's sort of the amount of time I've devoted. Of my 24 I have in a day, I will give 1 hour to these YouTube videos. But what if instead of that, I dedicated 7 hours over, the week? That is a concept that I'm toying with. And maybe once these daily videos go away, I can start doing that and actually devote an hour of my day. Or if I do just a quick live video for 15 minutes, then I can devote 45 minutes out of my day to doing bigger videos, whether that means, filming one day, spending a couple days on the edit, spending a couple days on graphics and animation and stuff. That's something that I'm interested in. And maybe it would take the YouTube videos to a new level or a new place or something that more people would be interested in. But also the second I start to think about more people being interested, the more I don't give a shit. I don't know why. It's so funny. I look at my videos and I see them getting between 50 and 100 views. It's not very many views. But then I think about being at like a gig that I played and playing for 50 people and how fun that is and how much I like that. And that's sort of what this is to me. It's playing for that small audience. And the fact that anyone is getting anything out of these videos, even just getting out the fact that, I'm okay with people watching my movie on their cell phone, maybe, who said that? Was it Lindrick? Maybe Lindrick will get something out of that. I think there's something to be said about these rambles that we're all kind of learning something. Or if not, anyone who's watching these is learning something, even if it's how much you hate me. And I'm okay with that. You guys can hate me all you want, but I hope you don't. I, one of the things I talked about in post production that I didn't get into all that much was, what was it? Shit. Now I'm losing my train of thought. It was in one of these videos that someone replied to. Um, that wasn't that one. Oh, obsessing about the distraction of outreach, which I guess I did talk about a little bit, but that is something that I'm afraid of is the more I start to think about marketing, not just the distraction, the actual money you can put into your movie. Because one of the things I've realized on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and social media and getting your movie out there and all of the marketing and selling, it's I love the concept of self-distribution. And even in pre-production, if you're thinking about self-distribution, how are you going to get your movie out there? Obviously, that can go a long ways to getting your movie seen. However, you're going to put money into self-distribution. You're going to have to put a lot of work and a lot of love into it. And also these like, what do you call them? Marketing. If it's free, it's for me. Like, so I, as I post stuff on social media, I'm finding that social media is pushing me to promote it more and more. Like I've been doing one of the reasons I've been posting so much about these t-shirts. You can buy a t-shirt, the Good Exorcist t-shirt at joshstifter.com/shop. Please do it. It's helping pay for this Super 8 movie. That's actually why I put those shirts back up. I wasn't going to put them back up. I was going to sell these shirts at Comic Cons and film festivals. And then, because I hate shipping, it's such a pain in my ass. But I want to make this Super 8 movie really bad, and I can't afford the film because I'm poor. So it says the guy with $1,000 microphone right here. I got this microphone for free, everyone. Well, not free. I paid a little bit, but essentially, in the long scheme of things, I basically got it for free. And I paid for 7 years of working at a company that was soul sucking to get it. That sounds like I stole it. I did not steal it. I got it fair and square, but yes, it's a much more expensive microphone. I put in the time to get it. Anyway, Josh, I have to go, but write me a part in your next movie. Yeah, I mean, not my next movie because my next movie is maybe the Super 8 movie you could be a part of. So after the Super 8 project, if money was no object and you had complete creative control, what would you make? So I really want to make, this is a good question. And this is something that goes all the way back to pre-production because I'm in that spot where I'm thinking about what are the dream projects. I have a script called Keith that is a movie that is a dream project of mine, and I'm going to make it. We're actually making the animatronic puppets for it right now. The general plot of the movie is it's a movie about a guy who goes on a road trip to kill his dad with his two imaginary friends who are animatronic. They're puppets. They're like labyrinth puppets. So that's a dream project I've always wanted to do, but the concept is based on something that's really hard to sell again. The concept is I wanted to star my buddy Keith, who is not an actor. He's the guy from Greywood's Plot, but he's not a professional actor. He's not a sellable actor. And the problem is, you want to know what? If I took this off of the wall, this stupid thing, it would frame me up so much better. Look at that. Little things, folks. That's distracting too, but I'm not going to move that. That's my coffees. So anyway, Keith is this movie about animatronic puppets, but this is again is a movie that I want to make on my own. And so I've thought about this as I've thought about like what are the bigger goals and dreams? What is my 10-year plan? And so I don't have that. I don't think I'll ever have that. I don't think like that. But I do have a movie that I want to do that is, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's my take on sort of the Cloverfield Godzilla movie. Oops. Sorry. Cloverfield Godzilla movie, and it's a Um, I don't know. I don't wanna say too much more, but I wanna do a big monster movie. Uh, but my passion projects and the things that I fall in love with are the things I'm in right now. So Scumbag, I'm filming this week. I start this weekend on production. Whew, just saying it out loud makes me really nervous. My basement is all set up. I'm looking at it right now, and the whole set is prepared. And I'm making my solo version of Scumbag. Now, after that, it's not going to stay just a solo movie. Some of you know this who have been following along, but that's where the paths sort of does diverge mean come together or separate? I keep saying diverge. Is that's coming together, right? I don't know. I attempt to use big words, but I'm not very good at it. So my paths are separating, and so how long is Scumbag going to be? I don't know. So Scumbag, the script is 90 pages. The full length version is 90 pages, but that's not the version I'm filming now. So the solo version of Scumbag is going to be as long as it is, and you guys are going to see that movie probably sooner than you expect. It's a very like now that I've actually separated these concepts, and Scumbag has become two separate projects, which is always the way it goes. You expect something to be easy, and then it becomes much more massive than you think. Greywood's plot was supposed to be a 6-day shoot of just finishing a feature, and Daniel Keith Strauss and I were just going to go make it, and it turned into a 3-year project that I love and adore, but it never was supposed to be something that I love and adore. Diverge equals separate. Or diverged, does that mean equals? Sorry, my screen is very small right here, or my chat is very small right here. So anyway, yeah, it became two things. I was supposed to be on this road of finishing a solo movie by myself, and I was going to put my all into that. And then it diverged, and it became um me making my solo movie, but it's very experimental and trying to figure something out about myself and very personal. Um, Greywood's plot was not meant to be sort of a self-portrait, and converge equals join. There we go. Thank you. So it was not supposed to be this self-portrait. It wasn't supposed to be so personal. And as I was in post-production and figuring it out and then rewriting it, it became very personal. And I will say Greywood's plot is I said some things in that movie I didn't expect to say, and learned some things about myself that I had to actually have conversations with people about, with like friends. And my chair is really low. I'm sorry. It was just driving me nuts to be that low on screen. I had to have conversations with, my wife and my friends about what it meant to me, because it was very important. And Scumbag, when I started writing it, I wanted to write something very personal and important. And as I wrote it, it became more fun and like surprisingly silly and not as personal of a story as I expected it to be. Um, there's very personal stuff in it, and like there's a lot about self-reflection and mental health that's kind of buried in it, but not as much as Greywood's plot. Greywood's plot very much became that movie. And so when I read the script and when I sent it to Daniel, and Daniel was like, I want to work on this, man. Don't do this by yourself. I really love this movie and this script. We decided to kind of do it together. And the reason why I kind of became okay with that is it no longer was a solo movie to me. When I reread it, I realized it wasn't as personal as I thought it was going to be. And maybe I don't see myself as, or I'm not as reflective of myself being this like scumbag of a person. And so it was hard for me to find that what I was trying to say in it in that way. We all have our self-doubts and our moments of standing in the shower going, why did I do that? And that's sort of what the movie is about. But I think that there's more to it than that. So anyway, the divergence became two movies. And now Daniel and I have realized, well, there's this not folk filmmaking part of the movie that is a very fun, weird monster movie that has this dark comedy to it that is really fun. So I let that be what it is. This version of Scumbag is something completely different, and I have no idea how long this version is going to be or what I'm going to find in it in myself. I think filmmaking and these videos and everything is just me being too cheap to pay for therapy. You guys are all being my therapist right now as I ramble to myself. That's what a therapist does, right? They just sit there and go like, how does that make you feel? So right now you guys are going, how long is Scumbag going to be? And that's what I'd want my therapist to ask. My coffee got cold again. I did one of those morning videos. I think it was yesterday. And as I was sitting there trying to like have my coffee and do a morning video, I looked at the time on the recorder, and I was at like 12 minutes or something like that. Because I cut out all the ums and likes and all these little pauses I take. I take a lot of pauses. Like that right there, where I said I take a lot of pauses, I would have cut that out of the video. So anyway, I realized my coffee got cold, and it's getting cold right now as I sit here trying to sip on it. It's like lukewarm right now. It'll be freezing in a second because it's cold in my basement. Um, where should I go with this next? What should I talk about? What I was going to say, my mind started to go one direction there to think about that question of how long is Scumbag going to take. Then I talked about this two versions of Scumbag. But then I wanted to say, I think a lot of people don't do that with their movies. I don't think they let themselves diverge and try different things and realize what the movie is as they're going. I think they get in their head. I mean, fucking, if there's no proof in the pudding of that, it's it's this Justice League. I haven't seen the original cut. I just saw Batman v Superman recently. I mean, like, I don't get into superhero movies. I watch them when the time is perfect for me to watch them, and I'm in the mood and I'm in the right mindset for that piece of art. I tried watching the original Justice League, the Whedon take on it, like 4 times and fell asleep twice, started it on a plane and turned it off, and that's rare. I can watch a movie on a plane. Oh, that's the way you should watch The Good Exorcist, is on a plane. Best place to watch The Good Exorcist, because then all that crappy sound is drowned out by the plane engine. If you're on a plane, watch The Good Exorcist. Thank you. That's my ad. What was I saying? Jesus Christ, I'm rambly today, you guys. I'm full of piss and vinegar. I had a joke at one point on one of these morning videos. I went like this, like, it's cold down here, so my nose kind of runs. So I wipe my nose, and I made a joke about doing cocaine, and I actually cut that out of the video because I'm like, I'm so antsy and like energetic. I'm afraid people will think that was the one time I made like a joke about doing drugs and was like, I shouldn't say that because I think people will think I actually do drugs. I don't. I don't do drugs at all. I have too much coffee. Coffee and work are my drugs. That sounds cheesy, but it's kind of true. Um, well, yeah, I don't. I need to take more drugs. I think my wife wishes I'd smoked weed because I would probably chill out. But how did you feel about Batman v Superman? I felt very good about it. I watched Batman. Oh, I loved Batman v Superman. I watched the extended cut and really liked it. There was this thing, I've been hearing for years now about all of these things people hate about that movie and what they don't like. And because I think maybe I was forewarned and prepped for it, it was more powerful than I expected it to be and more a piece of art. Like that movie is like gorgeously fun to look at, but also has these elements of like true art. Like it's like looking at a beautiful painting at times, and I was not expecting that, I guess, the way people talked about it. And the mythos of the garbage that I grew up reading, like the Odyssey and the Bible. Like there's a lot of really extreme what's the word? Crappiness, but in a good way. That sounds bad, but like when people talk about that Martha scene, it logistically doesn't make sense, but that's like something that would have happened in the Bible. Like there's probably a part in the Bible where someone says something that compares them to someone else that's outside of, like, a rich person and a poor person compare themselves through their mother's name or their father's baldness or some shit, and that brings them together and realizes that we as humans are all the same. Like that felt like that kind of a um What's the term? God damn it, I'm like the reason I'm stammering and stumbling is because 'cause I'm trying to think of what that term is for, not a fairy tale, but a fable. Oh, man, I hate when I can't get a word and it's in my head. There's, like, this fable to Batman v Superman that I really liked. Um, I enjoyed it, though. I mean, will I watch it 100 times? No. Will it work itself into my top 100 favorite movies? Probably not, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was funny as I finished Justice League yesterday, I immediately wanted to watch The Lighthouse again. Like this, how did you feel about the Snyder Cut being 4:3? Seems like such an odd choice to me. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And maybe that's because I watched it on Oculus, and the Oculus was like this big square scene that everything was in focus. Like everything was right on screen there. I wasn't having to turn my head to like see the rest of it. It was just this big square, and I really enjoyed that. And it focused my attention. The Lighthouse is my other favorite movie. It's like my favorite movie ever now, and that's 4:3 as well. There's something about 4:3 that the removes what we're not in caring about, and it just focuses my attention on what I'm supposed to be visually seeing. I liked that a lot, and it still like seemed to follow rules of thirds or centered in a way that was visually interesting to me. I will agree it's an odd choice. It's a bold choice, but that movie is goddamn packed with odd and bold choices. Um, that Snyder cut, man, I really was like, wow, he did some weird shit in that movie that I was completely okay with. And then there were moments that dragged, and it was 4 fucking hours. Of course, there's moments where I'm like, oof, I don't care. Can we just say like Aquaman is a strong, muscly guy with a spear who's defending a box and then move on from it? They get the box and then he is mad and wants to get it back again and wants to help. Like I didn't need any Aquaman backstory. None. Dude's ripped and drinks whiskey. I'm cool with that. That is the story of Aquaman for me in that movie. Um, I've never seen the other Aquaman movie, or I've never seen the Aquaman movie. So I didn't care at all. But man, I love Cyborg. Cyborg was great in that movie. So that dude gave a hell of a performance too. Really good. Like his little robotic moves with his face. I thought that was awesome. And obviously like a choice. I like when movies take risks. I mean, I made my movie black and white because I wanted to take a risk. I made my other one on reality TV because I was like, I'm gonna go for it and take this risk. For everyone who tried out for Rebel Without a Crew who didn't get on, here's the truth of why I got on, I think, versus every other white guy. They're gonna pick one white guy. That was very obvious. And the reason, I mean, maybe not. Maybe they didn't sit down and go, we're gonna pick one white guy and that is it. My Oculus sent me a notification. I thought I turned those off. But they definitely wanted diversity on the show, which is great. But the reason why I think I did was because I very much said, like, I'm doing this because I want to take the risk. Like, I know that this isn't going to be me making a movie with Robert Rodriguez. I was like, I'm gonna be taking my shot on your stupid show and we'll see what happens. And I think they liked that. Um, those risks are kind of paramount to every part of the process of filmmaking is something I'm realizing. With Scumbag being in pre-production right now and thinking about what kind of risks I want to take in pre-production and in post-production, and one of those big risks is failing failing for myself. I failed on camera. I failed publicly a lot. I don't do a lot of stuff just for me. I show you guys everything. I show my family everything. But day by day, as I'm in production, I want to like consistently kind of shit the bed and try things and see how they go. And it's not that I'm not going to share them, but in that moment, I want to be completely in it and see what I can kind of fail at and fuck up. For anyone who's read the script, it's on Patreon. For anyone who's read the script, it's changing, but I'm taking my favorite parts of it and I'm just going to film them. And I'm going to see what happens when I set up a camera or set up 4 cameras and just film. Which is going to be hard to edit all of that footage together. I've done the tests. I did a test on Wednesday morning and I can make them all match pretty well, but the hard part is going to be making them match and be interesting visually. I don't know. That's hard to explain, but like cutting it together. I'm kind of cutting it like a reality show or doing it like a reality show, which I thought I'm hoping, this is me taking a risk. I'm hoping gives it a very fly on the wall feel. Um, there was a movie that came out a few years ago. What was that movie called? It was so good, but it was about like the queen, or I don't know if it was the queen. I totally could be butchering this, but a queen, and she's got like these two gals who are like trying to fight for her power, and they're lesbians. And there's all these shots of like, there's like this fly on the wall footage that I'm sure it wasn't done with a GoPro, but it looks like GoPro footage. What was that movie called? That was such a good fucking movie. Why can't I think of it? It's gonna drive me nuts. Sorry, everyone. Um, The Other Gal. I think it's called The Other Gal. I should make a movie called The Other Gal. My wife hates it when I use the word that gal. But anyway, so I'm trying to get that very fly on the wall feel with this movie now, with my version, my solo version. So I have all my lights set up like a reality show sets up their location, and have my camera set up like a reality show would set up their cameras. But the hard part is going to be not making it look like it's camera footage, because the reality show can get away with this concept of, well, we're cutting to this GoPro footage and we're cutting to these other cameras, and you don't, like, you're thinking about the fact that there are people filming these people. I don't want that. I want it to still look like a movie. So I have my main camera. That's the camera I'm going to use for 90% of stuff. Now I need to figure out how to make these other two cameras match and work and fit the vibe, and not having cameras cutting in front of each other. This is something that I'm supposed to be talking about post-production in this video, but this is something that I'm doing the pre-production. I'm also editing like little beats and trying things on camera. So like I'm learning what the post-production is going to be like in pre-production. This is something I think too many people, too many filmmakers don't do. We compartmentalize things. And yes, in pre-production, you should be thinking about post-production, how you're going to sell your movie and how you're going to market it. But you're compartmentalizing it then as part of your pre-production versus letting this natural flow happen. And you get in your headspace of like, well, who is the audience for this movie in pre-production? And then as you move into production, you're constantly just trying to figure out, how am I going to play to that same audience, instead of branching while you're in post-production or in production as well and going, well, what's the other audiences I can find? I really liked I worked on a full moon feature, and they did this series. It was this softcore porn thing called Famalian. And I ran like behind the scenes camera, and then ended up doing C cam, I guess, third cam. Well, I did second unit for like 2 days, but I did third unit. I don't know. What is that called? C cam. I wasn't a unit. I was literally myself running around with a camera, filming other stuff, taking plates, and filming weird visual effects stuff for the background, and just trying out stuff. And then like if they were doing a big scene, I was just the third camera who was hiding behind something, getting like a cool shot. So anyway, I learned on that one, they were doing all this behind the scenes stuff, and I really liked that. Even though it kind of went haywire at certain points, I really liked for myself doing that and what I could show, and cutting behind the scenes while I was in the process. And that's one of those things that I've taken over to the Patreon, which, you guys, Patreon sucked this last month, but this in March, it sucked. I haven't done very much for Patreon at all. I apologize to my patrons, but you've still got some of the podcasts early and some behind the scenes stuff. Maybe not really. Maybe a couple things. Next month is going to rule. I have so much happening with Scumbag already that I'm putting together, and you guys are going to get some great videos. Patreon.com/Flush Studios. Ad. Hashtag ad for me. Anyway, is it an ad if you're just like trying to promote yourself to make money to fund your projects? I guess it is, right? But I'm very excited about the kind of behind the scenes stuff I can show, because I can show like all of these mistakes. I want to show you guys the mistakes. That's why I do a lot of these videos. Someone said, they DM'd me and said they really liked the videos, and one of the things they liked was the fact that I talk about how crappy I am a lot, or like how I don't make you all nervous to talk about the process. Why is that? I mean, not why is it that you aren't nervous to talk? Why do other filmmakers make us nervous the way they talk about it? It's this like lack of awareness that this is an insane challenge and very difficult, and we're all um we're all struggling together on this stuff. I like that struggle together. I like to share in it, and I like to take these risks. So, how do I feel about the Snyder Cut being 4-3? Scumbag is going to be 4-3. Actually, that's not true, but my Super 8 movie will be 4-3 because it's Super 8. So, that movie will be 4-3, and you'll be able to see it this year, hopefully. Still, I'm trying to make some features this year. We'll see if it happens. It's really hard, isn't it? Is my no, it's just the shadow. I was gonna say, is my mustache like uneven? It looks really long right here. I look like I have this long drooping mustache, but on this side it just kind of ends right here. Should I do that? Should I shave this off and grow this side out and let this mustache grow to here, but not this? It doesn't really grow right here all that well anyway. It looks long and wispy. These hairs look wispy, and then this all grows in like patchy, and then nothing like right here, and then nothing right here. Anyway, no one cares about my facial hair. I grew out like a really crappy beard for Scumbag the first time I tried filming it and failed. This is a failure, man. I fail a lot. I grew out my fingernails and my hair for like 6 months. No, 4 months. And maybe 6 months. It was pretty long. I think my hair was like 6 months and my fingernails were 4, but they were long. I don't know if you guys have seen it. They grew out like this long. They were so nasty and awesome. Um, and so I did that for the movie and filmed it, and the first sequence is done. You can see it on my Patreon. Oh, done. I mean, I filmed it and cut a version of it together, but I will continue going. So that's the other problem is now I have to match that original footage as well in some way. So Scumbag is going to be a massive challenge as I go into post-production. I'm very nervous about that movie's post-production process, but I've taken the stress off of myself in that we're doing the actual version of Scumbag. I will not be playing Scumbag in that version either. Spoiler alert. We're gonna have an actual actor, and I'm gonna have cast. So if and asking for help, um, that is going to be my ask for favors movie. So if anyone has their vaccine and wants to come film Scumbag, hopefully or what month are we in? March, April, 2 months from now, let me know. I would love to work with people. I've been really bad about that because I'm really bad at asking for favors and I'm also poor. So I'm really trying to figure out a way to ask for favors from people properly and not take advantage of their time in a negative way. Which is something I guess I should be thinking about in pre-production. How do you go into production? And something maybe I should have talked about in production and post-production. I'll talk about it now. I'm terrible at asking for favors. That's why I've become a jack of all trades in this process, is because I've had to be, because I am terrible at asking people to help me with projects, even when they ask me to ask them. I have people every day uh, hop on comments or post on my social media or slip into my DMs saying, "Hey man, I would love to work with you on whatever you need," like Lindrick just said. And then the second comes to start filming and I get nervous to ask people. I just am terrible about asking for favors. Um, because I get asked for favors a lot and I know how it feels. Luckily, people also pay me now. I get paid to do this stuff, and it takes up a lot of my time. That's actually the reason why or March sucked on Patreon. Is I decided to divide my time between. Hey, Dan, I was talking about your folk filmmaking. Dan Lotz, 922 Films. Um, I was talking about this idea of folk filmmaking and how I don't know if I fall into that category, and it's a challenge to sort of understand because I think about folk music and I kind of like think about the punk movement and what the punk movement was in music, but also I understand that I essentially am kind of trying to break into this folk filmmaking mentality and understand how I can bring something directly to my audience in an easy way via YouTube and other things like that, but also how I struggle to give a shit about my audience because I just kind of end up making stuff that I want to make and then moving on. Dan Lantz is doing cool stuff. I really enjoyed your movies, and we should hop on a podcast sometime and talk about them if I can ever find the time. what was I was talking about the fact that I took these contracts. So anyway, I took these contracts. Um, I've been taking these contracts to essentially set myself up for the second half of this year so I can actually work with people and make what I want to make. So I have my Super 8 movie in the works, and I have Scumbag in the works, and I have Scumbag 2.0, as Daniel and I are calling it, in the works. And they're all in like pre-production or in production. So I filmed Scumbag this week. And in order to do that, I have to take on these contracts to be able to hire other people to do other parts of the process. And asking for favors is something that I just have been completely unable to do. It's ironic that Dan Lots popped on right now because I have people that I've wanted to work with and people that I've wanted to collaborate on podcasts with and do collaborations on YouTube videos. And then I realize that I'm going to be taking up their time and I instantly like disconnect from it. I can't do it. I really, really struggle to ask people to do stuff until it's scheduled. And maybe it's why I need someone to help me with it. And Daniel's been pretty good about it, although Daniel is hyper focused right now on Scumbag 2.0, which is great. But I've told him like that is our movie that we have like love into right now. That's our passion project. That's the thing that we're obsessed with. Let's make sure we're obsessed with that. Um, so he's been like really, really doing a lot for that in the background and behind the scenes. And so being more behind the scenes. Why does my thing not let me just show whatever? I'm so fucking free. Please waste my time if you ever need. I'm stoked to help out on one of your projects. See, this is the thing. Everyone is like, I love that, and it means a lot. And then the second I'm like, okay, we're going into production, I just shut off and don't tell anyone and just go do it because I am really, really bad at asking for favors. I and I don't know how to put this. This is see, this is where I clam up. I can ramble and ramble and ramble, and then the second I have to talk about asking for help and not doing things myself, I get really nervous to talk about it. Because here's the thing, when I take a contract and when I'm not getting paid what I deserve for that contract, when I boil down the hours I'm making or the hours I'm getting paid, I don't give it my all. And that's just a fact. And you can't. When you're doing a contract, you can't put your entire passion into something when you're only making $5 an hour. And that happens to me a lot, like pretty often, where I'm working on something and I'm boiling down the hours. And I'm like, man, if I do any more on this, I am making $10 an hour and I need to make more than that. I can't make less than minimum wage at this point. Honestly, I like to make about $50 an hour on contract work. I know that sounds like a lot, and a lot of people be like, Jesus, $50 an hour. What are you, nuts? But that's what I like to make. I prefer $100 an hour, which I sometimes make on some of those crazy projects. And then that money goes towards hiring people. So that's why I work. This is something someone asked me to talk about, is how I balance, and I'll talk about this next week because I think this is a post-production thing and something I've learned, how I balance a full-time job and making my films and making other stuff. Part of it is being born antsy. Like, it's just the way I am. I don't sit still. I can't stop. I am always going. I think I told this story on last week's live video, but I was at a monster truck rally when I was a kid with my dad, and we watched it for like 20 minutes. And then he looked over and I was like doodling on a piece of paper that I had snuck in on my pocket. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, "Oh, I was bored. I was bored at a monster truck rally. Like, I get bored. I just need to be moving all the time and constantly finding something else to creatively keep me interested in life." So anyway, I took these contracts to set myself up for the year so that I don't have to take little contracts. So in March, I took some big contracts. I still have one that's kind of looming that I'm actually excited about with one of my friends, but that pays okay as well, and that will help me pay for my trip to this film festival. Man, I almost spoiled it. I was so close to telling you guys what film festival Great Woods Plot got into. It's frightening how much I want to tell you guys. And I needed to take this contract to pay for the Super 8 movie. And when I crunched the numbers, it has As I crunched the numbers, I realized I don't have enough money to make the movie that I want to make. So I that's why I started selling the t-shirts. I'm a spaz, I know. I had to take this I took this contract to make the money to pay for the Super 8 footage. Thank you to all my patrons who are subscribed, because your Patreon money I've saved over the last couple months, and that can help pay for film as well. So I have enough to buy a good chunk of Super 8 cartridges to film this Super 8 movie. And this movie is experimental. Oof, you're gonna hate it. Maybe not, but I think people are gonna hate this movie. It's so weird. So I have enough to make. Right now, I have enough to literally make every shot. I have enough money to buy enough cartridges to make every shot. And then, but that's not the way it works. I'm gonna need like a handful more to actually make sure that I can do it right and not fuck up some stuff and have some in between cuts and some other things. Um, so I wanted to make a Super 8 movie, but I never could figure out the finances. What are you thinking of spending on this to shoot and develop it? So when you boil it down, it comes out to about $100 per 10 minutes of footage. And that's including that's like everything I would need along the way to actually make it happen. Um, I've actually, because I always think negatively, I've made it about 150 because I know that I'm going to have to put some money into other things along the way. So I've been doing about $150 per 10 minutes. So when you do the math, that's 150 times. So I've also been saying the movie is, let's do 60 minutes. That's $9,000. So let me do this. Well, that's not actually true. I said, ooh, you guys, I'm very good at math. 100. Well, okay, so here's the thing. I basically boiled it down to $6,000 is what I was going to pay on the movie, or pay for the movie. And the reason I figured that out, and okay, this is really hard to explain. So $6,000 is what it's going to cost. My shooting ratio is literally, you get what, 7 minutes? Let's see here. I'm trying to do this. I have all this written down in a book that's upstairs. Sorry, I'm going silent. I'm just figuring this out right now. What in the fuck? Yeah, so I am good at this math stuff. 100 times 60 is what? I had to type it. I know it's 6,000, but I was typing something else as well. So you get about 3 to 4 minutes per cartridge, and for the way I'm doing it, this math is too hard for me to do in my head. I'm not going to do it. It's gonna cost me $6,000 to shoot my Super 8 feature. However, I am also not going to be I can recreate Super 8 footage exactly like Super 8. Like, you cannot tell the difference, and I really have tested this out and tried it on people to see, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have seen Super 8 stuff that I've done and tested out and seen if it's digital and tried to tell if it's digital, and I've watched it with people and interspliced real Super 8 that I filmed with fake Super 8, and like the digital that I did using the actual Super 8 I rolled on black footage and made my own Super 8 stock that I can overlay in different ways, and it's this huge effect. So I will be shooting everything Tommy Wiseau style, where it will be digital and film. So I will not lose any takes. No matter what, I will have something that I can do. However, there will be a version of the movie that will be cut only with Super 8 footage. That version will likely be shorter as well because I will inevitably lose some of the footage or some stuff will come out bad. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so anyway, $6,000 is what it's gonna cost me. So I took a bunch of contracts last year, and then I took some more contracts this year, and my patrons have, subscribed, but I still need a little bit more money to have that 6,000 and not have to dip into my family's savings, which I've been really good at. I've actually never dipped into my family's savings for my film projects. Um, I've dipped into it for other stuff, but not for film projects. I'm also not putting myself in debt making this movie. I literally just got I'm sorry, I pinch my skin sometimes and it drives people nuts. I'm out of debt completely as far as besides mortgage and a car payment, but that car payment is not really those things I don't consider like the same kind of debt. Anyway, I'm out of my company is 0. We're at no, we're not at 0, we're in the plus right now. And that money is gonna go towards making the Super 8 movie. So, yeah, I have to sink money into it, which is weird. I made Greywood's Plot, a feature film that's gotten into some big festivals and people seem to enjoy for literally $2,000. I don't even think it was $2,000, honestly. It's really hard to say because what do you count in your budget on a movie that you made just because you love it? Um, that's something that I think uh, people talk about the budgets and how much their movies cost and how much they spent on these things. But like, do I count going out with my friends for beers after we filmed? Because I would do that out of my friends and I just go out for beers. Like that's just a thing we do. Do I count um the hard drives that I bought that I already had? Like I already paid for those hard drives. So do I have to count those in my budget? So anyway, that's the other kind of stuff with the Super 8 that, a couple bucks might be spent on other stuff because um uh you wouldn't count beers in your budget. Yeah. So there's things that I count and I don't count. What I count, I one of the things I did in Greywood's Plot was I brought friends out for my birthday and we filmed the living forest scene. So there's this like living forest sequence in the movie. And with that sequence, I actually just invited my friends out for my birthday, and I said, "Instead of buying me a birthday present, instead of buying me alcohol or whatever else, buy yourself Halloween makeup." My birthday is September 13th. I was born on Friday the 13th, everyone. Some cred right there. Jesus, I'm so sorry, everyone. I keep bumping the mic. Um, so I invited everyone out and I was like, instead of buying me a birthday present or whatever, not that people buy a 35-year-old man a birthday present, or I think I was turning 34, 33. I think I was turning 33. Instead of buying me a birthday present, buy yourself makeup, Halloween makeup. Go to the Spirit Halloween, buy yourself some zombie makeup, and you're going to be a living forest tree. And people came out. So Lauren in that movie, my friend Lauren, who did the Greywood's Plot, the cartoon poster art, it's got Doug Greywood's on it, animated, and then the dog man. That one, she is the woman in the tree with the eyes missing, who's like, someone clip that, please. Doing that scream with the no eyes. And she did that herself. She bought those eyes, she put it together. Now I wouldn't count that towards the budget. I didn't pay for it. And if people want to come out and do things like that for me for my birthday, great. That was the way I could justify it as asking for favors, was because it was my birthday and it was come out to my birthday party, bring this and let's have fun and shoot a movie. And so like 15 people came out for my birthday party and we made a movie and they got to see themselves on the big screen at Twin Cities Film Festival. Um, Everyone go follow Dan Lotz. He's doing cool stuff. So Lindrick, go follow him. 922 Films on YouTube. He's posting some great stuff and he's got features on YouTube you can watch, which is really fantastic and something I'm hoping to do someday, but who knows? Like the problem is it's easy for me to say, but then I fall in love with these movies and I end up like wanting people to see them in different ways. And I like this slow rollout of people slowly seeing my movies. I realized at a certain point in post-production on The Good Exorcist that I was gonna have to live with that movie the rest of my life. Like, it wasn't something I was going to post and then forget about. Like, I wanted to love that movie. I didn't want to just make it. Like, I didn't want to just be something that happened, a blip in my life. I wanted that movie to be something that I thought about on my deathbed. And every movie, I want to have 20 movies or 100 movies that I'm thinking about. But I do want to do. I kind of, and I don't know if that's true. That's my way of saying I don't know if that's not true about posting a feature on Facebook on YouTube. I think that there is potential for that in me. I just have to figure out what that potential is and what that thing is for me that lives in that world. Because I can't just do it with these movies for some reason. All right, you guys, my kids are upstairs playing Oculus, and I'm down here talking with you all, which I love, but I also want to go spend some time with my children, and I have to cut this podcast I was supposed to put on Friday, and I forgot to. Yeah, I'm doing too much shit that I'm actually forgetting stuff now. So I'm going to post it today on Patreon, ad free. If you want to hear my podcast, Low Budget Rebels Filmmaking Podcast, it's a podcast thing I do. It's Low Budget Rebels Film Podcast. That is available on my Patreon without ads, ad free. It's also available on Indie Film Hustle with ads, or Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go listen to that. And I would love to do an anthology with you, 922 Films, Dan Lotz. That would be great. Let's do it. Tell me what it is and what the how we tie it all together and what we make. And I'm down to work on an anthology and how we actually incorporate everyone into it. That's the other thing, is I'm very like, I understand that I want to do stuff for me. So like the idea of doing an anthology for someone else's project is tough for me. Because I want to own that piece. But maybe there's a way to like make it so it plays on, like, there's an anthology film, but then there's also like the director's cut of each anthology that goes on our YouTube specifically. I don't know. There's an idea here. And if anyone else is interested in this idea, if you're hearing this later or if you're in the chat right now, make sure to reach out to 922 Films. He'll get rolling on this, and we'll come together on something and make something, all of us. Hey everyone, love you. Hugs and kisses. Let's make this thing all work together. What am I saying? Now I'm just my endings are awful. Awful. I should just say don't let your meatloaf and move away from it. But my kid's coming downstairs, so this is the perfect time to end. Bye everyone. Have a great day. Keep kicking ass, keep making stuff. Love you. Bye. All of a sudden you hear Raffy say, "You never say you love me." What's up, bud?